Hello everybody, I'm Jimmy Fantastic and welcome to my human NAF/arena/setups guide. So this is going to cover, tabletop style NAF and the new Norskra arena for Blood Bowl 3, which is very good. So this is very much like tabletop if you're not aware of tabletop or NAF style. Essentially this is like weekend tournaments. People go there, they have limited TV, limited skills, but better than a starting team, right? So, and then usually like this you have different tiers where say dark elves usually end up with less stuff than humans, which end up with less stuff than chaos, which have less stuff than halflings, right? So this is pretty standard. About six primary skills for the tier 1 and 1150 is pretty standard. So here we've got humans at tier 2 with 1160 and 7 primary skills. So this is what I would recommend for that, which is as much guard as you can get. That's pretty much what I recommend for all NAF kind of events, because guard is critical. It's all about the blocking war, it's all about controlling things, and you do that with guard. Now also it's Mighty Blow is really good, so we've got the ogre in there. We want Mighty Blow, we want guard, we want 3 dice with Mighty Blow. We've got guard on all these guys, they're very fast. So humans are normally tiered lower than Imperial Nobility and or World Alliance, the other similar human teams, but what they have over those is a lot of speed. So you really want all your blitzers, you want them with guard, I think. Now you can take a Mighty Blower or a Tackler, lots of people like those things. I like it less on Blood Bowl 3 tackle because there's no Amazons. Now, if you've got Amazons, and you might be watching this video in 2026 and they've got Amazons, but as of now, season 7, there are no Amazons in Blood Bowl 3. So I don't value tackle as much. I don't value it as much anyway, honestly, because I feel like Mighty Blow is better a lot of the time. If you're hitting a War Dancer, you don't want to knock him down and tickle him, right? You want to knock him down and remove him. So Mighty Blow, although you've got less chance of knocking down with Mighty Blow, you've got more chance of removing. And of course, it is all it's a dead skill versus a lot of teams, right? Like orcs, etc. I don't want a dead skill. I don't want to pay one of my valuable skills on something that might do nothing some of the time. So yeah, I do prefer Mighty Blow to tackle anyway, but especially with Amazons not existing. And I've got block on the thrower, block on the catcher. So block on the thrower helps you versus like strip ball war dancers and slow drives. Maybe you do just pick up on the thrower. You've got the reliability of the sure hands. For quick drives, you've got the catcher with movement 8, and block and dodge is obviously a fantastic ball carrier. And you can have this on long drives as well. It just depends. You can do stuff like pick up on the thrower and then hand off to the catcher, because then you've got rerolls on the pick up and rerolls on the catch. So while your overall likelihood of getting the ball is less than if you invested a team reroll, it's also like you're getting on the right player kind of easier. So you'll see people do that sometimes. It's got 13 players, now more like 12.5 because the halfling isn't great, but that's fine, right? That lets you foul, lets you absorb casualties a little bit. You've got the apothecary for like an early knockout on a blitzer or something, or any positional gets badly hurt, you can use that. If something happens like your ogre gets seriously injured, maybe you use it. Lots of judgment calls in how to use the apothecary, and 4 rerolls is really fantastic. You can sometimes, depending on the TV and the package and everything, you could take a leader thrower. I don't despise a leader thrower, it's a completely valid option, but I prefer just 4 rerolls and block on the thrower. Now we've got a few formations here. So this is the kind of generic offensive setup. Now, offensive setups are not something you can really do guides for, I don't think. Maybe I'll do one like offensive setup principles, because everything's so situational, right? You always have to react to your opponent, how they set up, and what the current game state is. So it's less applicable. It's you can't just learn things and repeat them, right? For offense, it's all about reacting to your opponent. So there are principles, and one is you need somebody back to get the ball, and you probably need somebody else, vaguely back as well, right? So this catcher can come back if he has to cover the thrower pickup. Also, you need to be able to cover as much of the pitch as possible. You don't want to get blitzed on and completely exploited. Like, so for example, if these guys were here and your opponent rolled a blitz, he'd just come round down the side, right? And then, if the ball was here, they could blitz this and completely cage up here. So, you don't want people to be able to do that easily. So you want to cover the flanks a little bit. You want to cover against a defensive blitz a little bit. and you want to take your hits on the LOS, and your hits on the LOS want to be with block, or they want to be with mighty blow, or both, and they want to be on 3 dice if possible. So we've got all the guard, all the block, and the mighty blow all on the LOS here, trying to take hits. So yeah, I will do an offensive setups principles guide at some point, but that's for another day. For now, we're just going to do these generic ones. So defensive setups, there's a few ones. I need to think of a better name than solid, because solid defense is a kickoff event, isn't it? So this is the kind of protecting your players from a blitz setup. Now it's not ideal because you're only strength 3, but certainly it's good versus other strength 3 teams, because it's hard for them to get a hit, right? You've got block and guard protecting each other. Now if they've got a strength 4 player, they can just steam in for a blitz right here. You've got your thrower and your catcher both exposed and your lineman protected, which is a bit weird. But if they've got dwarves, for example, so they have a tackle mighty blow maybe, then you definitely protect your catcher, right? If you've already scored in the first half, then you don't need the throw so much. But if this is the first half against Wood Elves or whatever, then protect your thrower, right? Because you need that block sure hands. Maybe you don't even field him, right? If you don't field the thrower, then you definitely put the catcher here. Now, of course, if you're not fielding the thrower on defense, he's an 80k player instead of a 50k player, which is, he's not actually, he doesn't really have sure hands and pass on defense, right? Like, only if things go really well for you. But he does have a skill, and you would rather have that block player on the pitch. But it can be worth saving him, particularly if you're against Wood Elves. So you could change things up. This is just generic. Everything's situational in Blood Bowl, and I've taken the ogre off the LOS, and he's kind of protected by these 3 guys here. I think the ogre on the LOS, every team can knock him down, right? Every team can pretty much deal with a 1 strength 5 and 2 strength 3 on the LOS. So I tend to keep him off the LOS, but sometimes he goes on. Like, for example, how you could in Rule of 5. You could do this as a Rule of 5. So the Rule of 5 defense is about protecting your key positionals. In this case, guard blitzers. You really don't want a guard blitzer getting punched, right? Now, the other setup, it's harder to, but they could get hit, right, by orcs or whatever. This way, they're just definitely not getting hit by orcs. And again, you could save the thrower for your offensive drive, and then you could protect the ogre as well, right, if it's against a really heavy team. So, you've always got options. You've got to work things out for yourself, really, as to what the situation dictates and requires. This is chevrons. This is if somebody's trying to score against you in like 2 or 3 turns, maybe even in 4 turns. You don't want to give them the sidelines, Now, so the thing about the Rule of 5 is, yes, it gives you, progression down one side, but you can just react, right? You've got 5 of your fastest players all here ready to react. So Rule of 5 is very solid on an 8-turn drive. It's not so solid on a 2 or 3 or 4-turn drive. So for them, you've got chevrons. You've got the ogre on the LOS now to make it a somewhat bigger commitment to knock down the LOS, right? The weak points are in these diagonals on the interior and here on the exterior, right? So you have block to help to hold the sidelines a little bit, and you have the ogre to hold the center and block to hold the interior as well. You've got these linemen, which are like soft targets, so you have them exposed because blitzing them is rubbish. So you don't really, you don't want these guys removed or anything, and they're not really doing a whole lot, so they can stand there. So yeah, chevron's a pretty decent defense against a quick score. I wouldn't recommend it for a long-term drive, but again, you could, right? Everything's situational. So if you feel this is what you want to do, you can go with this defense. Now, this one here, unfortunately, I messed this up because I didn't realize this was the end zone. When I said, this actually needs to be 1 square forward, and you want a spread LOS. So the idea of this is just, because I'm going to do arena runs with every race, I do want this save set up. I want this setup saved. It's not a great setup, right? Like, it's not, I'm not using this because it's a great defensive setup. I'm using this for when I score on turn 8 and it's garbage time to, end the American football, right? Like, there's nothing that can happen. You're just wasting time. So this is my garbage time setup. If I score on turn 8, my opponent's got 1 turn left, I'm just doing this. It means they can't blitz all these players. I've benched my best 2 for a vicious ref, so that I don't want to get a player sent off to that. And yeah, if they're going to try a 1-turn touchdown, they've got to do a 2 tackle zone, a 1 tackle zone, and then a 0 tackle zone, and they're only getting to hit linemen on the LOS. And this is actually a decent defense if somebody's got a really bad 1-turn or a really good 1-turn, right? Like dwarves, very unlikely to score. And if you've got like, you know, if you've got like, say, an underworld team with a juggernaut, rat ogre, and a sidestep sprint or sidestep 2 heads gutter runner, right? That's so hard to stop them getting the pushes that I don't even try, and I just do this, and at least they've got to make some hard dodges. You know, at least they've got to make the dodges to score. Because if you try a fancy setup to stop a 1-turn and it fails, you know, you can make it worse if you do the wrong setup. So 1-turn defense. I didn't do these in the previous ones. I probably should have done that. Honestly, that was a mistake. But again, it's quite advanced, right? Stopping a 1-turn. A 1-turn defense is rather advanced and probably just deserving of its own guide in general. But because I realised I'm going to make runs with these teams, I should have this saved, right? So if you're facing something like High Elves or Dark Elves, something that can make a 1-turn but isn't great at it, that, you know, like movement 7 or 8 with agility 2+, then something like this push denial can be really good. You've got a gap. The gap really helps, and having this 1 square back means that they can't blitz from here and, you know, do clever things with the chain pushing. So I like having these 2 saved just for like ease of use. They're very rarely used, but it saves a bit of time. Well, actually, the garbage time one is used quite a fair bit, I guess. But again, it's just an ease of use thing, and they're not like proper defense. Well, I guess this is a proper defense, but rarely used, honestly. Rarely used these. I think the main thing that, you know, you'll see me using is this one with most teams, right? Like, it just helps you. You want to set yourself up to do as well as you can in you know, in the whole half, right? All you can do really on defense is like lose. You can have really horrendous defenses, right, where you just put loads of players can get hit. So the thing is, just don't mess up on defense is the key thing. So yeah, I think that's an okay little video for you, hopefully. And thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and stay fantastic.